correctly with the correct amount.
D20 Radio, where gamers roll.
www.d20radio.com.
Welcome to Me and Steve Talk RPGs, a podcast where me and my friend Steve try and help you get the most out of your role-playing game experience. Hey folks, welcome back to Me and Steve Talk RPGs. Steve here with you this week, and I've got some special guests, but before we get to that, I want to take a minute to tell you about another podcast you can find here on the D20 Radio Network, that being the Genesis Archives, which is an actual play podcast based primarily around games using the Genesis engine, and most of their work is in a setting of their own design that they call the Unseen World, which is a really cool kind of modern-day fantasy, but it's set in Las Vegas, and the individual that GMs most of their campaigns is actually from there, so you get a little more than just kind of the stereotypical media Las Vegas, even though that is part of what real Vegas is. It's a very, very cool show. The role play is very good. The stories are great. And if you want to check them out, there'll be a link in the show notes to their feed, as long as a link to the D20 Radio Network Discord, where you can find a bunch of other great shows. Some of them actual play, some of them discussion, kind of just a smorgasbord of gaming podcasts. So check all that out. And with that, I'd like to get into our show for this week. And this week I'm joined by two individuals who currently have a project on Kickstarter called Duginthroat Divided, which is technically for old school essentials, but is very much just kind of a generic OSR adventure thing. I'm joined by the primary creator, Daniel, and the editor, Walton. So, gentlemen, welcome to Me and Steve.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Not a problem. Not a problem. So let me ask first off, as I'm not a huge OSR person in terms of overall knowledge, is OSE the one with all the weird dice, or is that Dungeon Crawl Classics?
No, that's Dungeon Crawl Classics.
Okay, so OSE is very much more of an old D&D-ish engine.
It's exactly what it is. Like, the reason why I chose Old School Essentials for Duginthroat Divided is simply because it's lingua franca, as it's just streamlined and a bit rebranded 1981 Basic Expert Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
So it's like the most basic, easily convertible system. That also has like a logo that most people are familiar with.
Mm-hmm. Well, essentially, it's easy to take to whatever your particular flavor of choice is, but it also gives you something to not just say system agnostic.
Yeah, exactly. Like the previous adventure that I wrote and Walton edited was The Curious Creeps and Crimson Creek for Knave 2nd edition.
Okay.
And I noticed that, like, I was a bit intimidated when we did something for Old School Essentials, as I thought I had to learn. Like, well, I actually learned it, like THACO and Descending Armor class and all that stuff. But it's like it's two additional blocks from like the Knave 2nd edition stat block that I'm so familiar with, and it runs more or less just the same. Especially when you use Descending Armor class, it's not very intimidating, even though it might seem so at first.
My background, I've been gaming since somewhere in the 90s, so it wasn't my first game, but my introduction to fantasy gaming was Dungeons & Dragons 2nd edition, specifically in the form of Dark Sun. So I do remember THACO and Descending Armor class and all that fun stuff, and it was a time when that was a thing, and I am generally of the opinion that, and I think the OSR mindset from what I understand of it is, in a sense, that the system really isn't all that important. The system is a way to decide the things that we don't want to make up.
It's like the fact that the game master is called a referee I think
Hmm.
says a lot about the theme and the play style in itself. And that
Hmm.
you're, even though like of course you're part of, you want the players or the adventurers to succeed, your main job is to facilitate play and make sure that the reactions and consequences are believable, right? And that you are not like tweaking and turning stuff to their advantage or against it. So yeah, I think that's very much represented in most rules. I mean, the OSR can be like so many different things, man. If you look online, there's different schools of it, and some people claim that like it's all about AD&D first edition, while other people say that it like to the Freie Kriegsspiel or like whatever FKR stuff. It's like, man, it's just a bunch of like dragon games, isn't it?
It is. It's like it's incredibly diverse and it went through many different phases and it's so heterogeneous. Like, can we even call this a coherent movement with everything that's putting OSR label on it? But I don't know, like you can still see like a lineage and relations among them, but OSR can mean so many different things as might as well not mean anything.
Right. It's a label that we put on things, but like I've said before on the podcast, people talk about, oh, it's a rules light game, and my personal opinion is that rules light is honestly more of a play style than a defined design ethos. It's the idea that we don't have a lot of rules so that we can just do what we want to do. But I mean, open up any crunchy game other than maybe Woofer fourth edition, and it'll probably tell you, oh, if the rule is in the way, feel free to ignore it. You know, and I think that to me, I don't know, it's just the thing that excites me about gaming is being able to do the weird thing. Like if I'm going to play a super crunchy game and worry about all the rules, I might as well just sit down and play a video game.
Yeah,
And
it's funny that you mention Dark Sun, because I'm actually playing in a Dark Sun campaign right now, and like my character died last session, a Mull Gladiator. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing, dude. Like second edition is like so like high above like my competence level of like my dumb little like X story and narrative driven games concept. So after like my character died, I've been like reading the rules like religiously, and I found at least like five things that were simply rules I wasn't aware of when those things happened that could have like prevented it. And to
Mhm.
me, that's like, I love Dark Sun as a setting, but second edition D&D is like it's really not my jam, I will say.
That's perfectly like that's why we have all these other games, right? But ironically, I came into that Dark Sun campaign filling in for someone, and I was playing a Mole Gladiator. And when I talk about like I love doing the weird thing, at one point I forced the DM to figure out what the damage for a drunken sailor was. Because I picked one up. Well, it was a headless drunken sailor, I think. Or maybe not. I picked him up by the ankles and used him as a club because you're a giant muscle bound gladiator freak and well, he was laying there, so why not? But like to me that's the beauty of these simpler rule sets is there's just so much less, oh well it's this and that and you end up, you know, spending how much time looking a rule up as opposed to just going, we'll roll this and just have fun with it and let the story flow. And it's the spirit of it. And I think just that's what I love about tabletop gaming in general is being able to do the thing that no one expected you to do. And yeah. So but it sounds like we're all kind of in the same church if you want to call it that
Oh
there.
no, for sure. And I think like 'cause, like having like good basic resolution mechanics and like a sensibility that is easy to build upon and be modular with. Because
Mhm.
when I was like reading about like how games were played like 30 years ago, which is like a greatly romanticized and like nostalgic idea, I'm sure, is like how all these different games, like different tables, develop like different rules catering to their needs during
Mhm.
play, or interpreted different rules
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
differently. Like this whole like concept of like like folk games or like folk D&D or whatever, I guess, as like something that is more of a culture than a franchise.
Mm.
That's really interesting to me, at least. And modularity, and reactivity, and kind of like the possibility to facilitate all those things you just spoke about. That's really important to us.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, you hit on a couple things there that reminded me of previous interviews that I've done, one of which, talking to Eddie Webb, who designed Pugmire, and he said his goal with that system was to create the D&D that everyone remembers playing, which, as he put it, is not one that any of us ever actually played.
And
Like you were saying about, oh, it's just a framework to be able to do the things we remember doing, and then you were talking about the folk gaming. And I remember one of the things I spoke about with Luca from Ultraviolet Grasslands was his contention that role playing is essentially folk art. And it's a remarkable, it makes perfect sense when someone says it, but I would never have put the connection there initially. But it is very much a collaboratively created, community folk driven thing. And
yeah,
that's just, I don't know, it's cool.
like I think you can, like, we need to stop trying to be like, I'm very against, like, or not against, but I'm not a big fan of like these super directed and fabricated like actual plays and such things that like puts like such a high bar for like new people with interest coming to the hobby and not know, like, being completely fresh out of the woods, so to say. Because well, it's more like cooking or playing music with your friends rather than like creating this like cinematic or extremely satisfying like masterpiece. And I also don't think it's anyone's job to make sure that everyone's having fun. I don't remember who said it, but it's like I don't think fun is necessarily the the success indicator of a game. I know that's a weird thing to say, but yeah.
No, I get what you're saying, but I think also, how do you define fun versus how does Walt define fun versus how do I define fun? And just because, fun doesn't necessarily mean that I'm laughing and being jovial. It could be fun in a cathartic, I got to work this out thing. It could be fun in the fact that it it was a challenging thing to play through, and I was really happy with how I managed to do that. I say, one of my favorite memories, and this was, I think, from a D&D 3.5 game I played years ago, was playing a dumb as a rock barbarian that got charmed by a Bargist and trying to play his loyalty to his compatriots along with being charmed by these Bargists, and playing that out, just because it was like, okay, how do I, just because you're charmed doesn't mean you forgot this other character who you considered your brother, but you also have the thing that was just trying to kill you, who is aggressive towards you and the rest of the party, and now you want to be friendly to them as well. And to add on to that, the layer of, this guy is dumb as a bag of doorknobs. So, how do you frame all that and make it all fit the narrative that we have built and now just happened? So, like, I get what you're saying in that fun isn't necessarily the objective, but at the same point, I think it is, but I don't know that it doesn't necessarily mean fun in the traditional sense. So I'm, in a sense, I'm saying I agree with you, but differently.
I guess like what I'm trying to say is that, and kind of like an important point in context with that controversial thing I just said, is that I think the purpose of play for most things that identify themselves as role playing games are to play to find out what happens or what's
Mhm.
going to happen. Like that, it's like it's a there's an indicator of an unknown.
Right.
There's the player. There's what has happened. There's the risk of something that can happen. There is something that's currently in progress, and what happens when the players mess with that, and when that like kind of like explodes. And I feel like those like I don't know, like the players complicating things is kind of what the game is all about, in my opinion. No matter what game you're playing.
That's fair. That's fair. The exploration aspect, if you will, or yeah, exploration / consequences.
I think
I
like I was
forget.
playing
Go ahead, Daniel. Sorry.
no, I was playing a lot of like those like apocalypse world style games before I like came to the OSR, like Call of Cthulhu, and like I was mostly like a very fundamentalist like horror gamer, or like GM, I guess, when I was a teenager. And when I kind of like connected those two between the OSR and like the like apocalypse world style games, that like both of them have like this mission, which is to explore or find out like what's going to happen based on these sums, and that they're very like focused on like the lack of a pre-written ending to the story, where anything can happen. That's at least what attracts me the most to the hobby as a whole.
No, I'm there with you because that is also the other thing that I really enjoy is that I don't know what's going to happen, but sometimes I can poke the thing with a stick just to see what happens, and then we get to deal with what happened from poking the bee's nest with a stick.
That's why we have 10-foot poles.
Right? So let's talk a little bit about what Duginthroat is.
Poking things with sticks and seeing what happens. A lot of it.
Just based on skimming over like the quick pitch documents and the Kickstarter, it is a modular dungeon thing. And I do have to ask, and maybe this is just me not being terribly well informed, but is this red mist or this weird mist thing a very central part of Scandinavian culture? Because if I'm not mistaken, that's also the core premise behind like Symbaroum, which I know comes out of Sweden, and from my side of the world, it's all the same place. And I know it's not, but you know.
Oh, you're all good. No, I don't think there is a pink mist. Like the mist and Duginthroat is pink. It might say red on the charter. It's pink in the book anyway. But yeah, like no, it's I don't think so. Like the main reason why the pink mist is there, and I remember that when I was trying to find like alternatives to it, Walt like was a bit bummed out because there's a I think there's a violet mist and black antlers. No, there's a red mist
Scarlet.
there.
It was Scarlet.
Scarlet, yeah. There's a scarlet mist and black antlers, but they're very different. Like they're not, because that's like a steam, I guess. But as an illustrator and like a traditionally schooled artist, I think in colors and hues.
Okay.
And I try to do like a lot of like signaling and communication through those. I always wanted to play Forbidden Lands, but I never got to, simply because I love like Mutant Year Zero, and even like the old Swedish one, Era of the Apocalypse. But I never found anyone to play that with, just because of the gritty survival mechanisms, which I'm very very attracted to. But yeah, no, I don't think there's a mist in Scandinavian mythology.
No, I was just curious. I mean, because I am fully aware that there are probably vast differences in the cultures of the different countries and so on and so forth. But as someone who lives a quarter of a world away, it's a region. And I'm sure it's like people saying, "Oh, you're American. You must, this, that, whatever." Well, no, that's the other side of the country. But you know, but now, what is like, you mentioned that you come to this primarily from the background of being an illustrator, and we were talking a little bit before we got started recording, and I said, your art style to me is kind of this odd combination of it kind of has this sort of, I don't want to say comedic, but this kind of friendly goofiness, but also a gritty grossness mashed together in a way that works. You're not drawing Disney horror, but it's the blend. It's cohesive, but it's distinct.
Absolutely. There's and thank you. That's like that's it's not the intent, but I think it is the effect of everything that I kind of like I consume I have consumed probably like hauls of media during my life, as most of us have, and I think it was like I referenced Jason Pargin a lot, who did John Dice at the end, because like he does this thing where he flips between like emotions of humor and dread, taking them both like very seriously, and also I think that's just like, I don't know, it's so effectful, and laughter as like a coping mechanism and whatever, but also it's just like I did a lot of like straight up like ultra grim stuff before. I was doing a lot of like Merkborg stuff, and like besides my own adventure, Black Antlers, and I just noticed that like there was something missing there for you to like kind of get that big emotional investment, and I think that's the human aspect and the familiar and kind of like the groundedness, right? That's like in the middle of all this. That's one of the reasons why I could never get into like Warhammer 40K as well, is that just like I don't see like what a life in that universe would feel like, or what it would be like to live in that world, because it's just so extremely dehumanized that it's hard to grasp. Also, I mean, very much a goal with at least our adventures is for it to feel like a cool weird thing from like the 60s or 70s, that you found in like your uncle's attic. You know, the one with an Hawaiian shirt who starts talking about prog rock when he's had a few.
Whoa!
And,
Are we talking about your uncle, or are we talking about me?
and yeah, no, it's like a, what do they call it? Like the 80s that never was, or whatever. Like that's Tales from the Loop said that. That's like a good reference, I guess. And I love like just old comics, everything from Aragones to Barks and Don Rosa to Mobius to Ralph Bakshi and like Freak Brothers, all everything. Like it's all just such great stuff, and it influenced me a lot.
No, and it's so I take a lot of what I'm hearing you say too. You're also, in a sense, are you primarily a visual storyteller? And I asked this to kind of lead into a couple other things, but like, you know, your background, it initially comes in the form of art. And so I'm wondering, like, what comes first? I'm guessing for you, the image comes into your head. You try to put that on paper, and then, you know, in the context of like this, then you try to write text that goes along with it.
That's funny, because right now I'm actually at a stage where like finding the last like illustrations to fit like the blank spaces is extremely difficult, because I'm not like getting like strong ideas for it. Actually, like I'm even though I work like as an illustrator and an artist and graphic designer, I usually get like the ideas and like the concepts around what's gameable and what's like what makes this worth like being something to send out to people, right? Why do I want people to like to play this? And like I use a lot of like random tables and these like generators just to kind of like get my mind going, like reading books. If I get like an association, I dig deep there, because I think like I have a very visual imagination, so whenever I get an idea, there like a lot of them will already have like concepts that comes with them, right? Or like references I can change a little bit.
No, I was just curious because, and you know, uh, Walton, I first discovered through interviewing another creator who was not an English as a first language creator, and I was just wondering, like, if some of this, you know, and Walton, you've obviously edited a lot of stuff for a lot of people. Is it fair to say mostly in the Borg or Borg adjacent scene?
To a certain extent, that's definitely where I started. But I've done stuff for like Vast Grim, which is Borg derived, and then doing stuff on Mothership, which is more or less insulated. I'm kind of all over the board, but a big part of that board is Borg, I guess.
But like I was wondering if, you know, because in talking with uh, Gabriel Caroga, who I know you edited, I believe Warpland and
Hmm.
Neurosity and Hell Knight for,
Yeah.
And Gabriel was very upfront that he considers himself an artist
Mhm.
before being a game designer. And I was just, wondering, like, and Daniel appears, again, if I'm being stereotypical, I apologize, but that you're kind of more art first. And I wonder, as someone who is an English professor and an editor, is that more well, and even Brian Colin from Vastgrim is a graphic artist primarily. So, like, does that create a different challenge for you as someone to take the work of someone who is more artist first and try and format it into something that is still art, but perhaps needs to be less a little easier to precisely comprehend. I don't know if that's the right word, but to convey a clear message from the
Right.
words based on the art is, I
Mhm.
don't know.
More often than not, like, Daniel shows me some of, like, some of the early artwork and stuff when we first get going on a project. But, really, my first phase, is working with the words in a plain text document without the art. And many designers, Daniel being one of them, is they obviously put a lot of effort into their words, but they're very visual first. Like,
Mhm.
Daniel is thinking about, what is this spread going to look like? Where is the art going to be? What kind of art is it going to be? Like, how am I going to stylize this type of text in it? And sometimes it's a case of, we have to cut half of these words to get this to fit on this page. And then other times, like, we really need to expand this to fill out this page because we can't put more art here. So we need to expand what the text is saying. And it can be a lot of interplay back and forth with things like that, the pushing and the pulling and the stretching and the cutting to get what you finally see in the book in your hands to be what it is.
No, and like, I find, and I've said this before, I think that the amazing thing about RPGs is the amount of work that a designer and the creative team behind the book puts into this thing that we then you turn over to those of us that are playing the game, and now it becomes our play toy. And uh, you
Yeah,
know
as I think oh gosh, the authors of Rules of Play, I can't remember their names. Um one of the It's a game design textbook. And one of their something that they really try to emphasize is, a designer can design a game, but they cannot design play, not directly. They're indirectly designing play. And it becomes a black box. You're trying to influence it from the outside without ever actually getting to see what's going on inside usually.
Yeah. No, but, yeah, so, like, I think, yeah, I was just curious, like, how that process works a little bit, just kind of because 'cause I'd like to see what goes on behind the scenes, you
You
know?
want to see how the sausage is made, Steve?
Sometimes, right? Well, I grew up on a farm, I've always been
Mm.
very mechanically minded in a sense, like, I love to tinker with things and build stuff and, so, like, part of it is so many times I think the common perception of a given game is not, in many ways, what the designers intended.
So Duginthroat Divided, like the manuscript is like more or less done for it, done for it, and we have to like tweak minor things, and every now and then I get an idea and I just shoot it by Walt, and I'm like, oh yeah, hey, I just added this sentence here because I think it would like affect gameplay in like a fun way here, or like offer another way to interact with something. But
Mhm.
my point is that like this is kind of so all the other projects we worked on together, we've had like 72 hours. We've been like, this is the first time when we're like not having a deadline that begins with the next work week.
Yeah.
Like
I
I'm
mean,
not kidding.
we have kind of a soft deadline, but when we did Crimson Creek, like, that was kind of the challenge that we had for ourselves, is we're doing this in a week. That is our deadline. From Like, you already had it written and everything. You were working on the visuals, but like, that's we hit the ground running with that, and it was a fun challenge, but it's not one that I think I ever want to repeat, at least not soon.
But it's like crazy because we're talking about like folk art and all that stuff. Like I feel like almost like the writing process of this and the design work have been like that, like a jam session or something. and all the people that we brought on board have really like added something special. Like me and Brian, we just had like we had like 6 hour weekly sessions where we just like read through the manuscript again and again and like pointed out stuff to each other that could be like different. Originally, he was on board as kind of like, because I just wanted to be like better at adventure writing. And 2 years ago, he was putting a post out there that he was willing to do mentoring, and I'm like, Walt gave me his contact, and like we're both extremely insane people. So
And if you want, just to clarify, this is Brian Yaksha, who's been doing RPG stuff for I don't even know how long. He's a veteran at this point. But I did an interview with Daniel and Brian together. So if anybody wants to hear the insanity in action, we have it recorded.
That's what we did 6 hours a week for like 3 months. I'm not kidding. Listen to that interview and keep that in mind. No, but anyway, like it was like, because we were so used to like strict deadlines, it was like so comfortable just kind of like jamming those ideas out and like almost like fermenting the original thing until it was something else, right? Just changing it little by little. It did not feel like work, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, well, and it looks like, I'm looking at the Kickstarter listing, and you're going, like you've listed some of the stuff you have, and some of these like factions within the thing are like, some of them are just kind of what you'd expect. Others are somewhat amusing, but at the same sense believable. And then you have like a species of conjoined tongues that evolve an entire generation in a single day and have never met a human. We don't know what they want, but somebody should probably keep an eye on them. It's like, oh, wait, here's this weird thing. And to me, this looks like something where maybe somebody just sketched something and went, what's that? Well, it kind of looks like two tongues that are joined together. And it grew into this thing from spitball, bouncing something back and forth. And we went, up, this is weird. Let's see what people do with it.
All right. So if we're going to like, if we're going to tell you about the tongues, it's going to be a spoiler.
I'm not asking for anything specific. I'm just pointing out this thing that you've listed and kind of trying to indicate the vibe that I'm getting from the project from that.
So with Creeps, we got like one of the most common criticisms was that, which is partially because of like a failed intent as an adventure designer, I guess. That like I wanted to only make the most like the necessities and the bare minimum like obvious when starting to run the adventure, and have like a lot of like secrets and connections in there. As a game designer, you should never do that. That's like a really bad idea. Just to get that out of the way. But it was also criticized for being like kind of like out there. I mean, Duginthroat is also like pretty wild, but everything is justified. So there is no like stuff that is crazy just to be crazy. All of it has like a connection, and I think like all the playtesters and everyone who's read it has also like pointed that out, that it's like, oh, this is like so messed up or so far out, but like I see where it's coming from, and it's like why it's there in this world, and that was important to me, at least when writing it, that it wasn't just some random crazy thing that was put in there.
And you have a lot more room to do it this time. We're talking about a full-length book, whereas another challenge you set yourself with Creeps was like, this is going to be a 16-side zine, so it needs to be lean, and we don't have a whole lot of space to delve into a lot beyond the meat and potatoes of what this adventure is all about.
Well, right, and I think that's a very valid point. Like, you just made that, and I wonder if, as from a consumer side, as people who play and run games, if sometimes we don't unfairly criticize creators that, well, you didn't add all this stuff in that could have been there, and it could have been so much, but that requires additional pages, or and I have no idea the amount of work that goes in behind the scenes to create a book, other than to know that it's a lot. It's way more than I probably think it is, even being aware that it's a lot. And then you add in the logistical concerns of, as you said, oh, it's going to be, 8 faces of a page, or 16 faces, or or you have a word count, and the reality of it being that as the creator slash publisher, adding another page adds cost, and then you either have to eat that cost or increase the price point, and it's all this big swirling thing that those of us who just go, oh, it's a pretty book, don't have to deal with.
There's a guy I know that was like he worked full time as like a comic strip artist,
Mhm.
and you could work for like he said he would work for like a full work week, like with all the hours included on these like 4 panels, and the best he could ever hope for was that someone like laughed for like a second, and then they would like proceed on to the new one. Like they will not, even with like longer graphic novels or whatever. I know as an illustrator, like I'm like it's easy to use those as like references, but you can never expect like, I guess, to like credit for the work just for the quality of it.
No, yeah, it is a weird thing because, like you said, in that context, yeah, this is someone's going to spend a few seconds on this panel, and you spent hours or days doing it, and yeah, that's got to be a weird thing, and the only thing I can think of that even closely compares to it, and it's a phenomenon that I jokingly gave a name to a few episodes ago that I've talked about on the pod. I call it the lava cake brownie conundrum. And this is this thing where, as GMs, I'm sure pretty much all of us do this. I know I do it to myself a lot. I have this grand scheme in mind of how the adventure is going to go and this and that and everything else. And then the players do player things, and it doesn't go how I envisioned. And the reason I call it the lava cake brownie conundrum is that in my mind, I have created this wondrous chocolate lava cake of an adventure. And the players got a hold of it, and it turned into a brownie. Well, the reality is pretty much everyone loves brownies. And the players got a really cool brownie, and they're stoked that they got a really cool brownie. And I'm sitting here going, but it was supposed to be. And I think one of the hurdles that I fight with myself constantly is getting over that, what I thought it was supposed to be, and not appreciating that the table enjoyed it for what it was. And it sounds like the same process going on in your head.
Kind of, I mean, but we don't really have like pretenses of like what it's going to be when it's done, and that goes for play as well. When if you get Duginthroat Divided and back it on Kickstarter, or buy it after a campaign or whatever, and put it into your game world, whatever part of it, some of it or all of it, just the fact that that exists there is going to affect play, and the only thing you know is what's going to happen if your players don't interact or interfere with it. Like you can put it there. Your players can have the choice to go there or not. And this is a strong recommendation to all, like anyone who wants to run it, or games in general, in my opinion, is that like don't force them to go there. It will matter. That choice will matter a lot.
Yeah, there are multiple ticking clocks, and if they all tick down, they will have repercussions. So at the end of the day, it's not one person bringing lava cake to the table and everyone else bringing brownies. You've got a giant tub of batter, and together you're going to decide what this turns into.
Or if you just want to look the other direction and see what happens.
So this is more designed then as a location to put in your game world to go, hey, there's this weird keep up on a ridge that has this pink lightning coming out of it or whatever. And what do you do with it?
Yep.
Is that exactly accurate?
Yeah, and ignoring it is a valid thing to do with it if that's what the players choose.
We put like incentives on like why players would want to go there if they want to start with it, and like, or if you're like a new player who like don't want to like set your own like ambition at the beginning of play or something, there's like all these adventure hooks. But it's very much just like a big tub of stuff that's happening, and like a machinery of cog wheels that you can jab a 10-foot pole into if you want to, just to see what happens.
Okay, so I see. I like the idea of that as opposed to, oh, hey, like, again, my background. Hey, we're going to play this D&D box set this weekend. Happened more than once to me in my early career in gaming, or whatever other. We're going to play, Horror on the Orient Express, or one of the other giant Cthulhu modules, whatever it is. This is much more intended to be dropped in more of a sandboxy world, and here's this thing over there, interact with it as you will. How big is this? I mean, I can see some of what you've got written, but I'd like to hear it in your words too.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's 128 128 pages and counting without art. It is more than 100 keyed locations within 15 adventure sites that are also modular and isolated and with very little like brain work. You can take them apart and use them as one shots, or just change some names and like a detail about like the background of one of the places there, and you have like a fun night of playing. I mean, it's not, there's no intended way to play this, but it all fits together. All the procedures as well. There's a lot of procedures there. You can get the book just for those. I mean, but we really don't want to like tell anyone how to play it. I mean, and at the beginning of the book, it is like, and how I usually run it is that I start the group on at the foot of Poacher's Path, which is like a trail, which is like an abstracted point crawl on the way to the keep, where different things can happen based on dice rolls. Takes 3 days, and then they get to the keep, and that's about it. But like, you can also just drop a rumor and put it somewhere else. But be careful though; those ticking clocks are very powerful. So if you do that, then just like be sure that you read through at least the first pages of the book, so you know what you're bringing in.
Yeah, and this is something I would recommend a GM go through multiple times to familiarize themselves with all the interconnections and things like that. Right now, the manuscript, like we blasted past 30,000 words, which is now over a third of your standard length novel. And there's some exposition and history in there that prepares everything that the party is going to encounter. But the vast, vast supermajority of that is gameable content. So there's a hefty amount there to explore and interact with.
Well, I think too, you guys have done something that I'm going to say, at least I have done myself, in that you hear about the idea of sandbox gaming and you think, oh, this is wonderful. I get to just react to what the players do. And I think people misconstrue sandbox and low prep as being the same thing, and they absolutely are not.
Mm.
Sandbox, I think, is relatively low prep in the moment per adventure. But for a properly functioning good sandbox, you have to set a massive amount of groundwork at the beginning, so like you guys have mentioned, there's ticking clocks, there's this going on, that going on. You have to have all these pieces, because a sandbox is effectively an ecosystem, and this thing causes an effect over here. And it sounds like you have set this adventure site up very much in the way of, look, we've set it all up. When you tip over this block over here, other stuff starts happening. And like you just alluded to, Walt, as the GM, you have to have a handle on what consequence comes from this thing, not just wing it as we go, which I think makes a much more rich, much more living feeling world or setting.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, that's one of the reasons why Duginthroat Divided is like, Duginthroat Keep is a very like dense, small location. I guess you can like anyone who was like into like video game history or whatever. I guess it's like, what was it? It was like the early simulation games that rather would have like a really rich and reactive small apartment block, rather than like a big world full of like the same quests that asks you to like to get 10 wood and kill rats in the basement. It's like Duginthroat is an attempt to create an extremely reactive and dense environment that you want to spend time in, and that will surprise you. Like we have tried to account for like some of the obvious stuff we think might happen, but there's no way that we can like we can encounter what your players are going to do. But it's going to be interesting, and the stuff that it's going to fall into is right there. So there's like, we can't cover everything, but we've tried to add some tools as well, like rogue renderer and the ripple tracker to help facilitate and make that last bit of brain work as easy for the game master as possible.
No, I really like what what you're telling me about the design that went behind this. Boy, and also I love, like, how I talked about your artwork having kind of this humorous side to it and a grittiness, and this one thing you've listed as a testimony from an actual adventurer. This, so I pulled the lever and their souls were sucked out with a big old slurping sound, and we got our gems and went on with our day. Like, to me, that says so much in this tiny little thing about there's supposed to be at least some detached, third person humor to this, but it's also gritty and slimy and gross in all the good ways.
The name of the adventuring party was Millivan's Merry Men, if anyone would like to know.
But like, so I'm assuming this is standard A5 hardcover format as far as production of the actual book. Or...
Yeah, we wanted to, like, or I wanted to go A4, but it was just too costly with international shipping and stuff. It would just, like, it would have been pricier for everyone. Like, we have some tricks to keep those pesky tariffs, like, at least just to some extent at bay, for like all the different continents and stuff. But A4 would have made it a lot harder for everyone. Even though when working in layout, I want to do an A4 soon. I'll say that much. Yeah.
I love to, like, in the one tier, you actually have a cassette soundtrack, which as a kid that grew up in the 80s, like, oh gosh, I still have a whole crap ton of cassettes.
Just for all the backers out there, it will also be available as MP3s that you can download on your personal computer.
For those of you who don't
need
have
a
your
CD-ROM.
Walkman
It's gonna
anymore.
be great. Yeah.
I do still have a couple of devices that will play cassettes. Actually, I think, no, that was my old car. I was going to say, I think my car still might have a cassette player in it, but not the one I'm driving currently.
Well, playing with old stuff is fun.
It is.
And especially when you, like, I don't know, like, I was just revisiting like the original Red and Blue book for D&D, and the kind of, like, both the quality of the writing in there and how inspirational it is, as well as, like, just like all the aged stuff. Like, it's I mean, that you can't fake those, like, those classic kind of, like, or I don't know, like the contemporary sensibilities of that time. And, like, yeah, no matter what retro wave, like, whatever thing you're gonna, like, see, and like, music wise, like, actually old stuff doesn't feel or sound or look like that.
Well, yeah, that's, it's the, is it the thing we remember or the thing it was, and they may or may not be the same thing. So as far as the Kickstarter itself, do you want to talk about, any of the different pledge levels or anything? Or you just want people to go check it out and explore it? When this drops, there should be, if I did the quick math in my head right, give or take a week left on the campaign when this episode drops.
Oh, yeah. Like, I hope by the time this is recording that we'll reach our third stretch goal during the episode, actually. So when it drops, we'll hopefully have reached the fourth one. And if not, well, we're happy with where we got anyway. The third stretch goal is was additional content for further play, and a treasure table by Brian Yaksha. Do you have the page open, Walt? Like, in this, like, Nostromo duct tape madness that is my office, it's hard to multitask on a computer while video calling.
I can bring it up real quick. Hang on.
Yeah, it's a little hard for me to see correlate the stretch goals, because I'm looking at it translated to U.S. currency, but it doesn't translate the stretch goal levels.
Oh yeah, to be honest, I can't remember why we did euros. As like, my wife is American, I think in English and dollars. So let's see here.
I saw that the one stretch goal is you designing a custom character sheet for it. And I went, oh, that would be just, like, looking at the artwork you have on the Kickstarter, I went, oh, I would want that very, very much.
Yeah, no, we're like, I mean, I hope we can do that, like, anyway, as a digital good. but that would be awesome to have. Like, we would print like pads of them and send them out
Mm-hmm.
by like 25 or 50 per physical tier or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was important for us to keep the stretch goals at like an achievable level that didn't like cause delays. And
Mm-hmm.
if they're not aligned with our current like chain of production, they will be shipped separately. But yeah, the first stretch goal was the Treasure Table and Rippled Realms by Brian Yaksha at 8,500 euros. I think that's like $9,000 or something like that. At 10,000 euros, there was the red book ribbon
Mm-hmm.
um, that you can use to. I think like Die Sugars, who is our marketing guy, he did an excellent job with describing it here on the page, that when last session ended with one player being turned into a bipedal pig and another having been carried off by a man-eating crow, it'll be good to remember exactly what room they were in when it all went down.
Right.
Um, yeah, that's a great one. Then we have the custom character sheet, which will probably reach by now. The next one is like one of the personal at 12,005 is a personal like favorite of mine, which is the dust jacket with foliage, like the reflective stuff on the typeface and the lightning.
Mm-hmm.
And it will also come with a little surprise on the inside of the dust jacket. Let's just leave it at that. That will be play centric. Yeah, no, that's something I've always wanted to do. We have on 17,500. It's the Curious Creeps and Crimson Creek Statted 4 OSE. It's already available for Knave Second Edition. So if like all physical pledges and digital ones that have applied for it will get a choice on which version they prefer. And let's see, Walt, do you want to take on from there?
Oh, keep going. This is your
Oh
project.
yeah, it's the
They're here to listen to you, not me.
it's just one left. It's on 20,000. It's the final one so far, which is that our friend Gelur Morsis, the Lich Lord of Frostbitten dark analog ambience, will create 30 minutes of additional music for the cassette, which means it will be recorded on a or duplicated on a 90-minute tape band rather than a 60-minute, bringing it up to solid 45 minutes per side.
Oh, I loved my 90-minute cassettes when I was making compilation tapes back in the day.
Right. And there will be, of course, they will be pro duplicated, so they will sound really good and just dusty enough.
There, yeah, yeah, yeah. God, this just so. When just because I like to ask this, you said your manuscript is largely done, so a lot of your remaining work is art layout. I'm assuming.
We're done
Obviously,
with
I'm
most
sure.
of that too. It's like a
Okay,
lot of it is done. Yeah.
so what timeline are backers looking at? Like I said, the campaign ends somewhere first week in November. What type of timeline are you realistically planning to fulfill it? Just like
As
I don't mean
as
to
soon
like.
as soon as possible. Like, I've been strictly informed to not mention dates, but the date listed on Kickstarter is like, it's because it's 26th of August or something. That's a safety net if something
Mhm.
goes like wrong. So we haven't like so we haven't made any promises that like we're unable to keep. But it is well within reason to believe that backers will have all their Duginthroat Divided products like a lot sooner,
Mhm.
like by far. That's
Mhm.
like, I'm gonna be surprised if it's not ready, if it's not already like being played way before then. I will also say that like the print shop is a Norwegian bookbinder, which is one of the reasons why like the base cost is a bit pricier than like some or was a bit higher than some campaigns that you see running nowadays. Like,
Mhm.
the print shop is like ethical, grassroots, independent, and have won like several bookbinding awards in
Mhm.
Scandinavia. They're right from my house, so I'm part of like, I will be overseeing like all of production. There will be videos and stuff, and we're gonna like do an update where we take some photos from inside the printing press soon. for all those sausage enthusiasts out there. Um, and yeah, I'm a big print nerd myself. Like I love physical media a lot, and I'm a big control freak. So doing something like print on demand or something with it, it was just not an option for me. And also, like, I think it was the playtester and Norwegian game creator Ole Peter Javid, who said he wants to make beautiful things that no one wants to buy.
Well, no, I appreciate though, like, you going with a local printer just from the and I've had this conversation with various creators, when I talked with Zach Goins about Raptor Ruckus, we talked a little bit about the logistics of printing and costs and, run size and all this. And, then obviously there's all the tariff nonsense for those of us in the US and all that, and different people like, Brian Colin, well, he bought or well, leased technically, but he is printing all his stuff literally in his backyard at this point.
Mhm.
And
Living
it's
the
just,
dream.
and now to do that, he's gone to where he's going to be working largely in zine formats, but I appreciate the fact that you're taking a look and going, okay, how can I do this? Get the product I want, be able to be hands-on, and on some level, even if it isn't the core thing behind it, going, I'm going to support a business that's, here near me. Maybe the guy who owns that print shop shops at the same supermarket you do. I don't know. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, it's different than going, I'm going to pay this guy halfway around the world to do the thing. And okay, maybe it's a couple bucks cheaper, but like you said, you get the ability to be there and see it as it's happening and not get sent a test copy and okay, no, that's fine. No, you can, like you said, be there when the sausage is being made.
Do you are my previous collaborations with the shop as well? Like it's a fantastic business. I've been working with them for almost 20 years in various like forms. They're and due to that like business relation, we are also getting a product that will be a lot more lavish. No, let's just leave it at
Mhm.
that. I think everyone is gonna be happy with the way the book looks and feels, and withholds play and the tear of time when they receive it.
Yeah. And so then I assume are you actually going to be handling the actual shipping of the physical stuff yourself then? Or do you have someone also, reasonably local that you're handling that through?
So it seems like it is not for sure, but I might be handling all the European fulfillments. Like we are talking to some potential partners
Mhm.
and awaiting responses. But for American backers and I think U.S., Australia, and some other continents, like this is not my field of it. That's why
Oh,
we have like a fulfillment person, which is
uh-huh.
Guy Sugars, who did Cairn, Mothership, and a whole bunch of other like really successful Kickstarters, who is together with Space Penguin Inc. taking care of American fulfillment. They have a lot of experience, uh, Jerk, the man behind Space Penguin, is credited in at least like 500 RPG books by name. So he knows his stuff, and there will not be delays due to technicalities. We can say that much. There also like there's just regarding printing. We just landed or we just confirmed, solidified a work agreement with a risograph printer for the maps for the deluxe tier. And there's also going to come some very cool stuff up on the add-on store related to that, as we found out that risograph printing was a lot cheaper than we expected. And both me and our indexing and bookmarking person, Emil, will be will be participating in the printing of the extras ourselves, and it will be on luxury paper.
Cool, cool. So, do you have, just as we're kind of probably about at a time where we want to start wrapping this up, do you have a website where people can go to find more about your stuff? And this being obviously for both of you, or socials that you would like people to follow, or do you want to stay as you know anonymous? I'm not saying give it to me, you must. But if you want to put that information out there for people who want to follow you more, see what's going on, you mentioned posting videos of the printing process. Where can people find stuff like that for you, or either of you, for any information you'd like people to have?
So Mud Knight was kind of like my own like bedroom publisher during Curious Creeps, and we realized that during Duginthroat Divided that we were probably going to have to make a website soon, like actually giving some information and whatnot, besides just being like a creative collective. But you can find my stuff on Drive-Through RPG under Mud Knight, and on HIO on Daniel Harilla. HIO, that's how you say it, right?
Yep. Itch.io or Itch.io. I've heard
Itch.io, yeah. You can also check out my illustration work and find links to projects that I've done most recently on Daniel Harilla Carlsen with a C, .myportfolio.com. I'm also on Daniel Harilla on Blue Sky, and I think that's it. I try to stay away from the meta platforms.
yes, I understand that completely. Yeah.
Walt?
No one cares about me. Now, if I my blog is liberludorum.com. That's LIBERLUDORUM, and you can find links to my itch page and my podcast if you want to see my hobby stuff or hear me talk more. You can search me on Twitter, but I don't use it anymore. The same on Blue Sky. And if you want to see just other stuff I've been involved with my co-op and my publishing company, you can find those at bogfolk.com and ninjaborg.com.
All right. Well, with that taken care of, anything else you guys want to add on this? I know we've kind of bounced around and talked about a lot of different stuff, but this really does look like a very cool, very well thought out, very enjoyable thing to have in your game. So, anything else you guys want to mention before we,
I wondered if we could do the angry salesman pitch at the end there, just like summarizing it all up with like a quick elevator pitch. If that's all right.
Yeah, no. Go ahead, by all means. We kind of didn't really do that at the beginning, which I usually try to do, but
you can recut it or keep it here, whatever you prefer.
Our listeners are used to my lack of attention span, so
that's perfect. Well, Duginthroat Divided is a dungeon on your doorstep for old school essentials and other like traditional or classic adventure games, but can easily be reskinned into any game. It takes great influence from like the golden age of weird fiction and genre literature, and facilitates for 10 to 14 hours of play, 10 to 14 sessions of play for player characters level 1 to 4. It features more than 100 locations, over 15 adventure sites, and contains like many additional procedures and tools that can be plugged or ignored into your game. It's a weird twist on the familiar, and the one thing it's not going to be as foreseeable or what do you call it, predictable. Yeah, predictable. Sorry, English second language. It's available on Kickstarter. We'll be running our campaign until November 6th. We're already about to hit our third stretch goal, and have some very like heavy hitters on our team, among others Brian Yaksha, Die Sugars, Galen Morsis, Walton Wood, and me, Daniel Harilla.
Very, very cool. All right, then. Well, I guess unless you have something you want to add in there, Walt, we'll move on to Game of the Week.
Yeah, baby, let's do it.
Game of the Week. Game of the Week.
All right, so I kind of told you guys how this works a little bit briefly. Would you like me to go first so you get a little more of a sense of what we do, or do you just want to jump in and wing it? Because that's also what we do.
I'm down for
Yeah,
anything.
why
If
don't
you
you go
guys go
ahead
first,
first,
I can
Steve?
at least be consistent.
I can be a hard act to consistently follow. I'll warn you of that.
Consistently inconsistent, reliable
Right,
like that.
precisely. So I'm going to shout out a game here this week that I'll be honest, I have not played. I just found the listing on drive-through, and it seems like it could be fun. No secret, many of those of us who are into tabletop games are also into video games, and a lot of people are really into fighting video games. Well, I have found something that is the mesh of the two. It's a game called Fight Second Edition. It is a role-playing game designed to play fighting game stories. I know there was many years ago the old Street Fighter game, I think from I don't know if it was White Wolf or one of the following iterations or whatever, but it looks like a refined version of the original, blast of key energy, punches, kicks, grapples, throws, aerial combat because, fighting game characters can jump and do physics defying things. It actually claims to be setting neutral, so you could put this in a world of your choosing. It also says you can explore historical action fantasy or martial arts flavored space opera. So it feels like a toolkit if you really want to play a fighting game RPG, which I know I have at least one listener that has routinely talked about wanting to do something for Street Fighter, but not really wanting to do the actual Street Fighter game. So, on drive through the listing, the PDF will cost you about $20. As always, we'll put links to all this stuff in the notes down below. But yeah, I mean, it looks like a tool to do something that, if we're all honest, most of your typical RPG systems aren't really designed to do. you know, because combat in a fighting game context is not the same as kicking down doors and bashing in goblins. So that's going to be my pick for this week. It's Fight Second Edition from Divine Madness Press.
You go next, Walt.
You sure? You're a headliner here. That pained look means Walt saved me. So I laughed a little bit when you said this is how you wrap up your episodes because I'm doing guest spots on a podcast called Breakup Gaming Society where I'm also doing Game of the Week. And one of my rules there is I'm trying not to do things that I've worked on, but this one's been on my mind this week. And that is Night Forlorn by Lucas Falk from Black Fisk Publishing. And I was the editor, but we've done with that. If you go out and buy this game, I'm not going to profit off of it. So no real conflict of interest here, but it is kind of in keeping with video game to RPG pipeline. This is very Soulsborne inspired, and the central character is the knight, and they're in a very decrepit Gothic city, and they have to go defeat one of the big bads of the game. And no dice used, played with a deck of standard playing cards. But the thing I think that's really interesting about this game is that there are three roles: the knight, I forget what Lucas calls it, but basically the GM, and then the chorus, which are like incidental. That person will play NPCs and incidental things in the environment, and then every round the roles rotate. So someone's going to be the GM one round, and they'll be the knight the next round, and they'll be the background characters the next round. It'll cycle back around. And that's based on an unpublished system from someone that I believe he's friends with. But I've never seen anything quite like it before. I think it's really compelling. And it's just oozes atmosphere and mood in the writing. So Night Forlorn, that is my game of the week.
Okay, cool. Yeah, generally I forgot to mention this before. There's a channel right above the one we're in called The Green Room where I try to post the links for this because that lets everyone else see it and also lets me find it easy when I'm making show notes. All right, so Night Forlorn, and now we put Daniel on the spot.
All right.
Can't avoid it anymore.
Yeah, I feel like I should really like pitch more Norwegian game designers out there, and like Matthijs Holter, who made Draug, or like Draugr, as you call it, like in American, I guess, iterations of it, was the first role playing game that I played in Norwegian and ran myself. He's recently been working on a game that I was lucky enough to get to play test as well, which is coming out next summer, which is a GM-less, like very dramatic game, which he pitches as small town personal horror with a cosmic backdrop. It is a card-based game about losing your relations and trying to hold on to what little sanity and social relations you can, while the mechanics are tearing away at your character and its environment slowly over the course of a campaign, which is in 3 acts, which all have like different rules and mechanics. I'm not the best game pitcher, but I can say that it's one of the more interesting diceless games that I've tried. It's coming. The game is called. Let me just see if I get this right here. The game is called Roots of Soledad, and it's coming out on the Italian publisher Nessendove. We'll probably link that in the show notes, I guess.
Yeah.
I bastardized all those words, I'm pretty sure. It's the closest thing I've come to like a horror game where the mechanics are designed to make you feel tense and uncomfortable. And personally, I really like that.
Cool. Yeah. And I would just ask both of you if you would, on the chat that we had going on or whatever, drop me a post with your link information. Just that way, I'm not accidentally getting the wrong link or whatever, or at least if it is wrong, I can blame it on you.
Already done. I've got you covered. You can
All right,
blame me
thank
for everything.
I have like a horrible tendency to miswrite my Blue Sky handle, which is my name, when I send it to people.
Well, I found you on Blue Sky just a second ago and followed you, so that part I can find no problem.
Yeah, but me debauching both the Spanish and Italian language in one sentence, that's going to be a harder one.
Look, you all clearly already speak more languages better than I do, so I am not throwing any rocks. At one point I was fluent in French, but that's been almost 30 years since I used it, so I would no longer classify myself as fluent. And clearly you're having a coherent conversation in a not your native language already. So
I know how to say a lot of really, really bad and heretical phrases in Croatian.
I know a few words in a handful of languages, but Croatian is not among them. I can order a beer in German.
There's like
what else do you really need?
What is it? There's a Polish saying as well. That's like, what is it? Samtni bastia bosti natia or something like that. And I'm not going to try to say what it means because of what you told us at the beginning of the episode. But let's just say I found a way around your rules.
Very good. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming to talk about this. This sounds like a really, really cool, really enjoyable product. I hope we'll get some more people to check it out. And, even if you find this episode after the campaign is ended, it will be, available otherwise before too terribly long, hopefully, because we all don't know what's happening in the world. So, things could get turned upside down. But the plan is to have it out very, very soon. And like I said, it's been a joy talking to you guys, kind of getting to know a little bit of, some of your processes and your thinking behind this stuff, which I think says a lot about who you are as people and as creators. That, to me, in a lot of cases, if I get to know a creator and they're a cool person and all that, it makes me want to support their stuff more, just because I know they're not some corporate shill sitting in an office going, oh, wait, if we do this, we'll sell how many more copies? No, this is, I've said it before, but this very much has a come share my fun feel to it, which I think is the core of independent RPGs and the core of the hobby.
We had a very, not to reel back in here, but when we were laying out, what do you call the closest thing we have to a marketing strategy, it was that it was going to be word of mouth and that the product should speak for itself. No meta advertising, no no like what is it, like unpersonal like paid promotion or something like that. We
Mhm.
have worked with like some partners, but they're all ethical within the hobby. And we have like personally been like mostly me. I've been like personally like involved with them and the way they've been doing. So it's been like a like a hands-on social thing the whole way, not like tweaking any algorithms to fit our needs or anything, to fit our demands or tricking a bunch of people with with fancy wordings.
Mhm.
It's just like a project we believe in.
Well, and right, that's that's what makes it cool, right? It's you're making something that you enjoy and going, "Here, this is fun. Won't you come have fun with it too?" And I think that just in my experience, games and books that are produced that way just feel so much more alive than a book that has run through a zillion different offices and how many different people that maybe they're great businessmen or business people or whatever, but they're not gamers. This is, you both clearly are people who love the hobby and just want to make more cool stuff for people to enjoy the hobby with. And I appreciate that a lot. So thank you
I
for
think I
taking the
can.
time to talk to me and all this.
Thank you for having us, Steve. I think I can speak for both of us when I'll say that like we would be creating even if no one like paid us for it.
More or less. I need a vacation before I go back to creating when no one's paying me for it. But yeah, like Tim Hutchins says, he makes little parties for his friends, and that's what it comes down to. If you like what we're doing, come be in our party, come be our friend.
And also we pay Walton dog biscuits.
Yes, I work cheap.
All right. Well,
But
with all that said, there'll be links to all kinds of stuff down in the show notes, to find more information on these two folk or stuff for our show, Patreon, all that happiness, whatever, links to all the things. And I think with all that, I just want to remind everyone to get out there and play some RPGs and be kind to one another.
here, here.
Intro and outro music by the band 12 Noon. You can email us at meandsteverpg@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter and RPGs. Find us on Facebook at Me and Steve RPG Podcast. On Discord at Me and Steve RPGs. And as always, all of these links are in the show notes. Thank you, and be kind to one another.
How much for the cigar?
Cigar, $20, dog. You gotta go down the street to the store and buy that.